Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series The Nature of Predators. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 162. Memory Transcription Subject Onzo, Yodel Technical Specialist. Date Standardized Human Time, March 23rd, 2137. The captain bore a somber look on her face as Tyler first imparted the news of Dominion reinforcements from the direction of Kalqua. There were a few hushed and hurried conversations as I strained to pick up comms chatter. Well, I couldn't hear what our personnel was saying. I could see the humans' faces cycling through different emotions. The bridge crew were dividing their attention between this new situation and waging battle against the Arxol ships entrenched in the gas giant's ring. Our progress was slow and steady, careful not to overplay our hand. Their cover was being chipped away at, though it cost a few ships. Plasma arced from our railgun, seizing a clean angle that I forwarded through my analysis of the battlefield. I tried to focus on that single enemy erupting into smithereens and the increased ability that we had to avoid hazards from our closer vantage point. The Dominion didn't budge from their positions as a few allies fell. Our own ship was the recipient of an attempted target lock, likely the same foe that signaled us out of the previous plasma strike. I put my head down and searched for whichever miscreant was gunning for us. Through close inspection, I located a small warship hiding in the shadows of a larger ally. Not wasting a second that could mean the difference between life and death, I forwarded the new target to weapons.
Plasma is recharging. But with those nanodrones we stocked up on, I say now's a good time to use them,
I shouted. Captain Monahan angled an ear towards me ever so slightly. You heard the yodel. Unload the nanodrones and deploy the mini-missile salvo to distract them in the meantime. The Terran commander's addition to my plans was sound, but it was disappointing that I hadn't presented the solution myself. The new Dominion blips, 30,000 of them, were distracting me. A part of my brain was mapping their trajectory and had reached a gut-wrenching conclusion before my conscious mind connected the dots. As the mini-missile delivery vehicles wove around the larger hull and their payload battered the shieldless hull of the foe targeting us, I checked to confirm my instinctual suspicions. All of the new reinforcements were closing in on our manned vessels to aid their Arxol brethren. We had chosen this engagement because it was the most viable option on the competency gradient.
Have we walked into a trap? What do we even do? Peel back and push through the ambushes, weapons at full blast and to regroup, summon a drone backup, when our automatons are already contested in the Shadow Fleet.
The nanodrones reached their intended target, punching through the drive compartment. There was nothing the Arxol harassing us could do to avoid going up in flames. The explosion lobbed icy debris from the planetary rings at nearby comrades, which damaged several of its allies. I was certain that Monahan would advise other ships to pivot to nanodrones, but that tactic didn't address the inbound problem. We had a few minutes before the Dominion completed its pincer movement. While I racked my brain for an out-of-the-box solution, the sensors readouts glitched. The unmistakable raiding vessel switched over to green, friendly markers.
Tyler, 30,000 Arxol vessels are coming in hot on our heels, I announced. I advise immediate action to address this threat. Also, many enemies may have tapped into our system since they are suddenly denoted as friendlies.
Sovlin huffed with skepticism. Did you press the wrong button by mistake? All that bouncing and fidgeting you do on your hind legs?
I didn't touch it. You are disrupting matters of the gravest importance. Does Tyler need to remove you from the bridge?
Well, I spoke up to offer sensible advice. Unless that is nasty Chief Hunter Isif ships, it's obvious Dominion ships aren't friendlies, and Isif is buddy-buddy with Zhao. So I'd venture, since we didn't know they were coming, it's not him. The Greys don't have cyber capabilities like Terrans, as Onzo should know. Hacking is a fantastical notion that leaves the possibility that the markers were mislabeled by the Yodel or by someone else in a high-ranking position. Would any humans betray their kind to aid the Arxol? Captain Monahan snapped ahead towards us. No, we're pulling back to fall in line with the new Dominion ships. We have new intel being forwarded that says that they're here to take Alpha and are very much against cooperating with the Kolshians. I'll be hailing the new arrivals commander to gather info for the fleet. Exo SWAT has control of battle stations. Comms, extend a hail. I blinked in confusion, doubtful over whether to trust these sources. Sovlin could have a point about power-hungry traitors in the Terran's cause, though I knew very little about this Isif he mentioned. Tyler told me that he was an ardent supporter of some Archives Grey, but I didn't know the specifics. However, it wasn't impossible that the sensor anomaly was an inside job to sow confusion, a betrayal from within. As was evident in the seediest parts of Yodel history, all it took was one person in the right spot who was tempted by the grandiose offerings to sell out a movement. If the primates were too trusting of the wrong people, our vessels could be waltzing blind into the crossfire. Our intelligence hasn't dropped the ball yet, Anzo. Knock on wood. If this was an entire agency's conclusion, there must be some basis for it, Tyler reassured me. Carlos dipped his head in agreement. Maybe it's a new addition to the Oxel rebels. I thought they preferred insurgent tactics to direct engagements, but maybe this group buys into the prideful aggression doctrines. Aggression sounds great. Hell, as long as their bloody guns point in the right direction, I don't care if they follow the whims of a flying spaghetti monster, Samantha huffed. Our warships reversed its momentum with gradual thruster changes and glided backwards. The hostile Oxel wouldn't concede their strategic location by the gas giant to pursue us. Of the thousands of Dominion ships in this cluster, we'd picked off a few percentage points. I could see nearby remains of a few of our craft, too. We hadn't escaped unscathed. Even with shields, a few well-placed hits in the close succession would turn a Terran vessel to scrap metal. Captain Monahan was aware of the singular focus required during a space battle, which was why she was in a hurry to complete the call to our mysterious ally. Seconds passed without a response from the 30,000 ships who were almost upon us. If there was no answer from this grey bunch, it would certainly elevate my suspicions. Any genuine aid would want to coordinate with our allies. What could possibly be the delay? Before my doubts could creep back in, regardless of the humans' faith in their intelligence, a strange Oxel blinked onto the screen. Abundant scars laced his face, which was an unusual greenish-grey, rather than a standing in their typical display of strength and ferocity. This commander was in an unusual seated position. If he was answering our hail, this must be the chief hunter presiding over the command ship. Given that Sovlin wasn't reacting with recognition, this wasn't the friendly Isif. The carnivorous alien bared his teeth in a true snarl, rather than the relaxed teeth flashing Terrans favored. Humans, I am Chief Hunter Ilthus, and I'm here to help you deal with these traitors to Battlement, the Oxel growled. Battlement is an ideal of cruelty and dominance. A friend of yours reminded me of this. I was able to contact Chief Hunter Uslif from my neighbor's sector before Kisnel could get to her with that plea. Monahan narrowed her eyes. Why are you helping us, Chief Hunter? We like to know who we're fighting alongside. Uslif and I wanted to show these Kolshians we don't need their permission to do anything, and that we don't work with prey. I've obtained a copy of some damning footage between those codgers, Gisnel and Nikonus, but the Dominion ships have disabled communications for that reason. The command ships are jamming inbound signals, to be sure, under the guise of cybersecurity. I could convince many others here to turn if they saw this one clip. There's no way to get them to accept file transfers or hails without hacking their systems and forcing them to listen. If we had malware on their ships, I suspect that it would have been activated the second our brass heard the Dominion was here. You'll need to find your comrades. Will that be acceptable for you? You speak as if I care about my associates, human. I am not so pathetic. They are in my way. They are defending the leaf-licking scum who think they can control us, and I'd rather fight with a sniveling predator like you than join the piss-ridden Federation. At least you don't shy away from a threat. I think the Federation finds us humans to be most troublesome. Clearly, the Dominion's not a fan of the strength and gumption that we bring to the table either. If I may, Chief Hunter, do you know how the Oxor were persuaded to work with the Commonwealth? They claimed that you will eliminate any threats to your claim over the prey animals that populate the galaxy. Therefore, the Orcs will not have the right to exist, and pooling forces with an undesirable herbivores is to protect future raids. They say it's about the right to cruelty, but it's really about control and lack of ambition. Yous have told me that you'll back a society with a different despot to Gizno. I'll answer to no more cowards. That senile, defective chief hunter has the right idea with a power grab, but the role seems better suited to me.
We can settle the future of Dominion after Federation is gone, Chief Hunter. The perfect tone of diplomacy from Monahan for the self-centered individual. This is a chance to defeat them entirely and to stop Oxel from being directly controlled by the herbivores who insulted you by trying to starve you. Who do you want to be the one responsible, a hero even, in their defeat? Ilthus's eyes glowed with malice.
Generations will know of my power. A true chief hunter would never fight for the Federation. We're taking the gas giant. If you leaf leakers want to come with us, you better keep up.
The Oxel disconnected from the hail, and Captain Monahan allowed her neutral mask to fall. She closed her binocular eyes with a bit of wariness, no doubt from her negotiating attempts all being centered on crazy people from deranged regimes. That would tucker anyone out and challenge their professional tone. I could at least rest assured that the newcomer's motives checked out, so human intelligence had read the situation correctly. The Terran manned ships merged with Ilthus's vessels, coordinating with Oxel commanders over comms. With 30,000 new craft on our side, we should be able to clean up the inferior force much quicker. I checked my sensor readout, gauging the other battlefronts. Sir, an update on our allies' status. The other Yodel ships have been pushed deeper into Alpha System. If I'm reading this correctly, it seems Terran drones quietly slapped on their own particle beams. The Shadow Fleet is sustaining disproportionate losses. The Sapient Coalition is struggling against the enemy's manned ships, though, and it appears to need urgent backup.
We can't afford to divert any resources. We're committed to pushing forward with Ilthus, and if the A-Team is succeeding against the Shadow Fleet, they should keep their foot on the gas too. Taking out those ships is top priority after all.
What happens when the SC ships fall on their first engagement of many? We're at the outer bounds of the system, not offer.
If we spend this battle bailing them out, we won't be able to focus on our goals. They knew the risks. They need to hold their own, unless we get more magical reinforcements out of left field.
Well, I knew that my human exchange partner was correct. Having only 2 main groups to deploy would hinder our capabilities to address evolving threats. It was a shame that herbivore crewed militaries were always bumbling fools. I think that knowledge colored Terran's initial perception of me, in this role, more than primitive accusations I faced elsewhere. Determined to set myself apart from other ex-Federation volunteers, I hunched over the sensors to find us an edge. The green dots denoting Ilthus's ships were throttling ahead at full burn. It was convenient for us that they sent themselves to the front lines to absorb the worst of the incoming fire. This is a novelty, seeing the minion ships fighting against themselves, untold aggression cancelling each other out. Ilthus will want to push into the rings for close-range angles, blasting these opponents with kinetics and plasma that they can't dodge. It'll be a no-win bloodbath, except that we can seize the distraction for mid-range strikes. Ilthus is likely to get up close and personal with his old friends, I advised. We should be careful not to hit him.
Sovlin grumbled to himself. Should we now? So much for wise sage Sovlin handle tactics.
Don't hit him, because we need his vessels alive to increase our chances during later engagements. I suggest that we hold our fire to precede him by just a little bit, so the enemies are distracted when he pulls up alongside them.
Tyler grinned with approval. Good work, Onso. Chart Ilthus's intercept vectors and inform us when you estimate a ship is 10 seconds from deploying kinetics.
Yes, sir. 30,000 overlapping lines blinked onto my sensor readouts, but I knew our vessel needed to protect one. Other Terran craft would handle the others. I applied filters to the chart vectors only for Ilthus's speediest ships and those who were the closest to the gas giant's rings. After combing through the data and allowing our new allies to get nearer to the target, I pulled up a nimble warship's pathing. It was flying headlong into a barrage of plasma.
While we conserved the brunt of our weaponry for the climax of this aggressive strategy, the fresh Dominion ships had an abundance of missiles to unload at the Kolshian allied hostiles. Scores of casualties were racking up on both sides, but the arrogant chief hunter had almost gotten his ship inside the icy debris. I pulled up one vessel. We could just barely catch an angle of its belly.
We can blow a hole in the underside of this one, or at least make it straddle. Plasma needs to get shut off in the next few seconds.
Weapons fire a new target, Monahan ordered. My ears perked up as our beam was dispatched with impressive haste. Somehow, the humans hadn't sacrificed anything in the way of precision. Our Oxal foes were paying more mind to their kinsmen than the UN fleet hanging back, perhaps under the assumption that the debris lent them enough shelter to disregard us. Their negligence allowed us to tear a gash in our Mark's belly, compromising its integrity. Terran vessels around us fired off similar shots, landing strikes wherever we could. A few kills, along with many damaging hits, were notched into our enemies. Several enemy guns, which had been preoccupied raining hellfire on a charging Ilthus, zapped plasma in our direction in response. The Terran man fleet was able to avoid prolonged fire since Ilthus regained their attention with his arrival. The scarred chief hunter had lost thousands of ships with his recklessness, but it was one way to flush the Dominion from the icy rings. The Oxal friendlies stormed the natural-made fortress, cycling between their three main munitions as fast as biologically possible. More missiles whispered off from close range in an overkill, wasteful gesture, while turrets revved to life to pump kinetics across entire ship bodies. Plasma had barely flashed from twin railguns before it coiled with our enemies. Ilthus' strategy was to shoot everything his force had all at once without giving them a second to breathe. And it was working like a charm.
Now that our plasma has recharged, another supporting volley should cause them to crumble. Even the Oxal themselves didn't expect this much aggression from one of their own. This Ilthus gray's unhinged. Not my ideal choice for an ally.
I served up another target on the platter, and weapons needed a quick go-ahead to sizzle energy towards the fray. The Terran fleet had drifted nearer, allowing a shorter time to impact. I had the viewport focused on a current mark as human technicians blast plasma straight into key systems. The craft somehow stayed together, but the gaping hole through its hull left it listing off vector. Ilthus' people were on it in a second, killing a vessel that was already out of the game for good measure. The Dominion's numbers had dwindled in light of our new arrival, though they pumped out desperate last shots towards the new chief hunter. Our crazy ally was able to pounce on the final remnants without help, but the swift victory was at the cost of an eye-watering 10,000 of his ships.
Ilthus' help won't last long if he keeps bleeding ships like this.
I adjusted the viewport towards the open expanse of stars as our warship banked to join our allies deeper in system.
Speaking of allies, that Sapien Coalition situation I mentioned has gotten worse. We should help them.
Samantha rolled her eyes. In a shocking turn of events, our alien help leaves much to be desired, except for the Yodel ships. You're pretty much as good as the ex-feds get.
I'm so flattered. Not that you're completely wrong. With help like this, we certainly could use more ships. We just made it past their first bastion of defense, and the numbers won't get any prettier.
Sovlin tapped a claw against the screen, finding a faint indicators from the edge of the opposite side of the system. Then you're going to like this. Already marked a tentative green. Computer must think they're not Kolshian or Dominion. We should ask these guys to head towards the bulk of the action, rather than drifting away out yonder. The first wave of reinforcements that were on our side had quieted my doubts, but the Gojit's war criminal was speaking as if new additions were joining our fleet. I snapped my attention to the activity that he picked up, seeking out supplemental information so I could brief the captain on their origin. The subspace trails were a bit strange and would take a moment to untangle from this range, but I was confident that I'd figure it out. Whoever the latest group was, I hoped that it was someone more reliable than gunslinging Ilthus. Humanity needed proper aid to bail out their Sapien Coalition partners. End of chapter. I would just like to thank our T5 members, Lord Azrakal, Ambrose Cattell, Quantum Wednesday, Dragzoon W.R.E, Blueberry Cat, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Bushmaster 177, and Leslie 517. Thank you very much.